Salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be talking about some romantasy books that I think are a little underrated, and I just need more people to talk about them. Hello, how are you? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So today's video was inspired by a couple things. So I know you guys probably already noticed, but this year Goodreads decided to add a new category to the Goodreads Choice Rewards. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I do use Goodreads to track my books, and I like it in that aspect. But I don't really take the awards that seriously. I really don't. Hardly ever are books on that list that I really loved or enjoyed reading. So I kind of just take it with a grain of salt. But where was I going with that? Oh yes, added a new category, and that was Romantasy, which is basically fantasy with romance. I find it very interesting that they separated it. There's a little bit of a debate on whether we like it or we don't. I don't know, what do you guys think of the new category? Kind of thinking about that. And then my friends Jessica and Tori, they have a podcast, The Bookish Life of Jess and Tori. And it's such a cute bookish podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to now. A podcast about romantasy, and they were talking about their favorites, so I'll leave it down below. But it kind of got me thinking, like, what are my favorite fantasies that have romance? The fantasy romances that people are talking about right now are because they're new releases, so they get a lot of buzz. I thought I would kind of chime in on this topic and do this video and talk about some fantasy romances that I think are underrated. Honestly, this video title was just a little catchy. I do realize that some of the books I'm going to mention people have read, and I'm not the only one to discover them, but I just think they could get a little bit more love. Alright, so the first one on my list is called Lacuna by N.R. Walker. This is a male-male fantasy romance book. This one, it follows a fantasy world that is divided into 4 kingdoms. There's one in the mountains, there's one in the desert, there's one by the ocean. Basically, the kingdoms are divided by terrains and environment. The way that the leaders were chosen is actually quite interesting. They were born with a mark on them that is basically fate, and it decides that they are going to be the ruler of the kingdoms. 4 kingdoms, 4 rulers, and there is one prophecy that is saying on their 25th birthday, all of them have to come for this event and have kind of like a gladiator fight. I don't really know how to explain it, but on their 25th birthday, they all make the trek to come together, and something unexpected happens. 2 of the rulers actually find out that they're fated mates. The marks on their wrists are like physically binding them together. 2 heroes are polar opposites, and it's an enemies to lovers vibe, but they have to work together to save their kingdoms. I really liked this one. The audiobook was really good. One has less than like 1,500 ratings on a Goodreads. So yeah, I definitely need more people to read this one. This one that I really love is another male-male fantasy romance, and that is A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This book starts off by following our hero Valason Van Ario. Okay, fantasy names always trip me up, so I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. I'm so sorry. Anyways, it follows our first hero, who is kind of like the 2nd or 3rd born of a royal family, so he's not expected to inherit a title. Spends a lot of time away from home because he is gay, but his family does not know that, and they wouldn't be accepting of that. One day, he is called back home, and he finds out that his father is setting him up with an arranged marriage to a neighboring kingdom for peace. Our hero is absolutely freaking out because his father does not know that he's gay, and now he's in this arranged marriage to marry a woman. Well, the neighboring kingdom ends up finding out that he is gay and changing the terms of their arrangement, and our hero is expected to marry the prince of another kingdom. His family basically disowns him, so he has no choice but to agree to this arranged marriage and travel to this foreign kingdom. Characters are both not entirely happy with his arranged marriage, but they want to make the best of it, so they decide to be friends. This is a true friends to lovers romance, and it is absolutely beautiful. It does have a couple of trigger warnings. Our hero in the beginning goes through so much. Trigger warnings for assault and intrusive thoughts, so make sure to read all the trigger warnings before starting the book. But our 2 heroes are literally soulmates, and the way that their friendship sweetly develops into a romance is so perfect. The plot is really interesting as well. There is magic within the kingdoms, and someone who wields magic is actually murdering people in the kingdoms, blaming it on our 2 heroes, so they kind of like have to figure out who it is, clear their name. The reason I really like this one is because both the plot and the romance are so strong, and I just really loved this queer magical fantasy romance. I highly recommend it. Next one I think was a little bit popular when it first came out, but I haven't heard much about it since, and that is Heartstone by Ella Catherine White. This one is a fantasy romance with dragons. That's all you guys need to know. No, I'm joking. This is also a Pride and Prejudice retelling. Heroine's kingdom is being overtaken by griffins, so her father ends up hiring these dragon riders to take care of the griffin problem. And when the dragon riders come to town, she has a bond with one of them, our hero. But it's a little forbidden, a little bit of an enemies to lovers vibe. I really liked this one. The writing itself felt very lyrical and fantastical, so it's a fun read. I like this one just as much as some other fantasy romances that have dragons in it, so yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. So if you guys know anything about me, you guys know that I love poly romances. I love reverse harem romances. Any romances that have more than 2 people, sign me up, because more people, more fun. That is my mantra on this channel. And one of my favorite poly fantasy, I mean, it could be kind of paranormal as well. I'm including it, I don't care. One of my favorite poly fantasy romances is written by Catherine Moon. I'm a big fan of Catherine Moon. I pretty much love everything that she writes. She writes a lot of paranormal monster romances, but this one has a really cool magic system, so I'm counting it. I'm counting it in the fantasy romance category. One follows our heroine, Joanna, who ends up getting a job at a magical university. The university is built for witches and warlocks to teach them how to use their magic, but our heroine does not have any magic herself. Or so she thinks. Obviously, our heroine has magic that she discovers when she starts working there, and it's pretty freaking cool. I'm not going to ruin it for you guys what her magic is, but it's pretty freaking cool. She ends up working for this university and has kind of a connection with 3 different professors. So these 3 professors are already in an existing poly romance, and they are looking for a 4th witch to complete their coven, and they want it to be our heroine. I feel like this one has such a well-balanced poly romance in it. Also a little bit of a mystery plot. There's some dark magic being used in the university, and the 4 of them kind of like band together to figure out what's happening. All of the relationships are strong individually, but also as a group, and I love it. Catherine Moon writes reverse harem poly romances so incredibly well, and she does have a couple of fantasy romances that I think are very underrated, but written is absolutely my favorite. I have another poly romance to talk about, and that is Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. I talk about this book endlessly on my channel because it is easily one of my top 5 favorite books, and it's actually a YA fantasy, which is very different from me. I don't read a ton of YA fantasies, but there's something about this book that is so special and dark and delicious. The writing is so lyrical. It follows our characters who live in a town that is always thriving and it's always prosperous. Their crops do really well, their livestock do really well, their townspeople never really get sick, and it's because years ago a witch from the town made a deal with the literal devil. And the deal was that every couple of years they would have what they call a slaughter moon, and they will sacrifice a boy to this devil to be chased in the forest. Now, something is growing wrong with the deal. The devil is demanding more and more tributes and sacrifices each year. 3 characters in this book are all kind of like tied to the forest in one way or another. So the 3 of them kind of band together to find out what deal was made all those years ago. They're also in a relationship. It is a poly romance. All of them are in a relationship together. And this one is YA, so it's not overly steamy, but it's still one of my favorite romances because, again, the writing is just so romantic and beautiful and lyrical. I love it. This one I'm kind of cheating a little bit because it actually was a little bit popular on Book Talk, but I feel like it could be even more talked about now. That is Cursed Cocktails by S.L. Rowland. I love this one. This one is more fantasy than it is romance, but if you like cozy fantasies like Legends and Lattes, then you're really going to love this one. This one is a male-male romance. It follows our main hero, who is a warrior for the kingdom. He actually has the ability to perform blood magic, and he uses that to protect his kingdom. He's been doing that for like 40 years, and now he is planning to retire because the blood magic is taking a lot out of his body. His dream has always been to open up a bar because his father passed away when he was really young, and the only thing he has from his family is this notebook that his father had that he used to write all of these recipes of different cocktails and drinks because his father's dream was to open up a bar. So he kind of wants to continue that legacy. So he moves to a new town and meets a bartender there, and together they decide to open up this new shop and try out all of his dad's recipes. It is so cozy, so fantastical, but also pretty emotional. By the end of this book, I was literally crying. I just loved our characters so much. I felt so emotionally invested in them. I absolutely adored it. Alright, so those are my top 5 favorite romantasy books that I think just need a little more love. If there are any more romantasy books that you think I should read or talk about, let me know. Fantasy books that have romance in them have been around for a really long time, and they're going to continue to be around for a really long time. Now it has a new category on Goodreads and a new trendy little name, and it's having like this craze on Book Talk and BookTube. But again, it's not going anywhere, and it's just a really fun subgenre. Let me know your favorite romantasy books in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video.